Tractate Bava Kamma, page 70, the idea of having a third party, meaning you have two people that did a transaction between, let's say, Reuven and Shimon, and it's involved with movable property. For example, Reuven deposited by Shimon a movable item, and he wanted to appointed the third party, let's call him Levi, to have a power of attorney involved with that movable property that belonged to a third party. So Amrei Naharde, the sages of the city of Naharde, said, Lo kadvinan urketa amitaltelei. We do not write a power of attorney statement that involved with the third party when it's come to a movable object. A urketa, it's like shultanut, which means in Aramaic that you give someone else a power of attorney to doing the transactions. That's a Rashi in Tractate Bava Kamma, page 33, and you see a large discussion in Choshen Mishpat in the code. Amar Avashi Lamayuma Maitama, the logical reason for that. Amar Lei Mishum de Rabbi Yochanan, what we studied yesterday by Rabbi Yochanan. The Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Gazal velo nitiyashua be'alim. If someone stole an item and the owner did not express his despair, which means the owner still give up hope, Shnehem enam yicholin la'akdish. Both parties, meaning the owner and the thief, cannot consecrate that item. Why? Ze lefi she'eno shelo. The thief, it's because it's not his. You cannot give away a donation, something that it's not your ownership. Veze, and the owner, lefi she'eno b'rshuto, because it's not in his possession. So, according to Rabbi Yochanan, a person cannot do ma'aseh kinyan, transactions between parties, which means matter of acquisition between party, something that is not total his. So therefore you cannot write this document, the power of attorney, because the one who is the plaintiff cannot acquire or transfer it or give the power of attorney to the emissary, to the shaliach. So all of that applies solely to a movable property. We do not talk here about land. And Tosfot asked the question, the Rashba, you see it also in Ktsot HaChoshen, if Shimon is a guardian of a movable property for Reuven, and we go by the location, where is that movable property located? So what's the question the Ktsot HaChoshen asked, why he cannot make ma'aseh kinyan, why he cannot transfer the ownership of that estate? So he said you have to say that item in part or in full was stolen. So therefore he cannot transfer it if it's not in his ownership. Not everyone goes along with that. Rashi said that it's there are other reasons why he doesn't want to do it. But anyway, Ika de Amre, there is another view. Amri Naharde, so there are those who ask a question, what does that mean, Ika de Amri? The main notion is that this applied to a Lashon Chadasha, meaning this is a follow the view of Reish Lakish, that say that a person can, Adam yachol le'aknot davar shelo b'rshut, a person can have an acquisition, something that is not in ownership, Ela im ken makhish, only if he denies it. But he said, Amre na'arde elo kadvinan urketa amitaltelei dekafrei. You do not write a power of attorney for collection of movable property that the defender has denied. That Rashi said, because here we talk about situation that he sue him, he take him to the Bedin and he denies it. And the emphasis here is that he take him to the Beit Din, because according to Pnei Yoshua, according to Rambam, the moment that it's out of the court, it's not considering deny, That's based on the Gemarrah in Tractate Shavuot, page 33b. Ta'ama de kafrei. The reason is because that the defender denied the claim. So you have this appearance, the michzeh shikra, that it appears like it's a lie, that it's a falsehood. It's like he wants to give to the defender, the plaintiff. The plaintiff give the other party money that it appear not to be his, aval lo kafrei, but where he did not deny the claim. Katvinan, we like to write a power of attorney for the collection of movable objects. Again, the big question is how far you go, if it belongs to him or not belongs to him, what exactly the truth. The Chidushei Harim, the great Gemarrah Rebbe, said the only place in the Torah that said that you should stay away, you should be careful to stay away from, is what? The Torah said, midvar sheker tirchak. You should stay away from lies, from something that is not total truth. So the Rebbe of Kotsk asked the Chidushei Harim, and he said, what does that mean? The line in the Tanakh, they said, Emet me'eretz titzmach, the truth come from the ground. What does that mean, the truth come from the ground? What do you need to plant in order for the truth to come out? So he explained, it said simply, he says, the moment you bury the lies, then automatically the truth come out. Which means, Reuven, in our sugya, Reuven cannot write this power of attorney to Shimon, to Levi, if Shimon denies it. So the truth cannot be half-truth or different level of truth. Truth is the truth. Okay. As I said, the whole subject is discussed at length in the Choshen Mishpat. An example for that is you have a Baal Koreh. Monday and Thursday, for example, read the Torah. So what is the one who read the Torah? We know the minhag of Teman, the Yemenite Jews, they have the minhag that one who gets the Aliyah, he reads the Torah, right? We have the minhag that one who gets the Aliyah reads with the reader, but please make sure that you do it quietly, because people needs to hear the Baal Koreh, not the one who reads the Torah. Obviously the key reason is there are people who doesn't know how to read, right? But you see this question by Pnei Yoshua, by Mordechai, by the Rosh, ask why he cannot be a shaliach, an agent of the person. So the whole question of bitul shlichut, you see it many times in rabbinic court. You bring a tohen rabbani, you bring this fellow that basically represent the person, is like an attorney, represent the person in a rabbinic court, and many times things happen, and he said half of the truth, quarter of the truth, exaggerate the truth, etc. So that's the whole question, is how far you go with someone who represents you, and he is just doing all kind of things that not totally represent what you meant to say. Anyway, ve'amrin arde, right? It ever happened to you? You hire an attorney, he is going there and he says things, and later on he explains to you why he said it, that it's not exactly the way they come out the truth. Ve'amrin arde urkita delo ktiv bei. If you have this type of document that it's not written zildun uzchei ve'apek lenafshech, he said to him that go sue the defender in court, win the case, and procure the proceeds for yourself. So he said late bei mashasha, it's not substance. My tama, what's the rationale? Mishum de'amar lei, because the defender said to the agent who bears the power of attorney, lacking this clause, and he says, Lav bal dvarim didiat, you are not my litigant. So, you're not my litigant. So, the big question is, the one basically wants the money for himself, which happens unfortunately a lot of times. People hired, you see it in the Maharsham and others have a big discussion over these people who are your attorney or To'en Rabbani, the one who represents you in rabbinic court, because he's basically your agent. So if you make a mistake, for example, you do rehearsal with him and he tells you what he's planning to say, and then when you never predicted how the session, how the discussion is going to be, and he's going there and he said things, all kind of things, right? So there is a claim, we studied it several times in the Talmud, לَتَكُنَي شِغَرْتِيخ وَلَا لَأَبُوتَي. I sent you to do what is justice, what is right, and not to exaggerate the truth or twist it. So, אמר אביי, ויקטב למחצה, לשליש ולרביע, מיגו דמשתאה דינה הפלגה, משתאה דינה הכולה. So it means even you have the right to transfer some, but he said produce for yourself a half or a third or a quarter of the proceeds. So since he's empowered to litigant, to that person to litigate for the collection of half or third or the quarter of that claim, so he may litigate for the collection of the whole of the eternity. So the Ravid in L'chot Shluchim, chapter 3, said that basically the moment you make a deal with that, it's very hard to divide it the way that it was set up, because it was all, how do you call it, hearsay evidence, the way that they understand between parties, and so many times. I remember a case in Har Nof, Yerushalayim. You know, I used to live in Israel, in Har Nof. In those years it was a brand new neighborhood. We are one of the first people that live in that place. So unfortunately it was a building. One morning, we go to shul, the building collapsed. It was terrible. So they sued, they took a lawyer, all the people, and they sued the builder. Luckily nobody get killed for negligence. So they won. But after they won, it was a big Bed-Din court case between the attorney and the tenants. The attorney claimed that they promised him 15%, and they said that they promised him 10%. It was a lot of money. And meanwhile, the attorney held the money in his escrow, and he refused to release it if they don't agree to give him 15%. Right? Anyway, אמר המימר, אי תפס לא מפקינן מיני. So Meimar said, you know what, if the agent wins the case and seizes the proceeds for himself, we do not take them away from him. So the Rashi have two explanations. We go by the second one. Because he has the right to have a court session with the defender, so therefore he can exercise his right and hold that money for himself. Rav Ashi disputed. Rav Ashi אמר, כיוון דחת ולי כל דמתענה מן דינה קבלית עלי. Since he said clearly in writing, the agent, I accept upon myself all expenses incurred on the account of the litigation. So as you know, when you start litigation, you never know how it ends. And there are many expenses that it's unpredictable, right? So shaliach shavye. So therefore, he appointed him only as an agent. So the Bet Yosef, the Bach, and others hold. What do you do if a person sent his, let's say, 8 years old son to go and buy eggs, right? Package of eggs. The son is 8 years old, right? He goes with the money to the store, he buys the egg. Now, on the way back, he broke them. Some of them, or all of them. Now, the question is, we talk about the dry law. You sent your son with cash, right? To pay the grocery store for the eggs. So the owner of the grocery store have anything to do with the expense after he left or not? Why is because if you look at this sugya, the agent is basically limited agent. How you frame the agent, especially when it's come to collect the money. It's not as simple as sounds like, because you basically knew that this is a minor, right? And he doesn't hold responsibility over things. So in one hand, half a part of the transactions is fine, but not full. If you remember, yesterday we discussed another phase of minor, the first day of Sukkot. You remember we said that the first day of Sukkot, you have to have the arbata, meaning the 4 species that has to be owned by you. So if there is a poor community and they're buying one set for everyone, so basically you koneh and makneh, you give it as a gift. Reuven give the gift to Shimon with the condition that after he use and make the bracha, you give it gift back to him. So you have koneh, you have acquisition, and you have makneh. The child that is a minor can do only one way, which means since he has no authority to sell to others, he can only acquire, but that's it. So that's problematic when it's come to the first day of Sukkot, for example, with all Maaseh Kinyanim. But anyway, Ve'ikra de'amar, and is another verse that said, Shutafa Shavyeh, that it is evident that he made him only a partner, not the owner of the entire amount. So the Ktav Sofer said, Vayishma Yitro, Kohen Midian, Choten Moshe. The Torah said about Jethro, that he was the priest of the Midian and the father-in-law of Moses. So he said, Rashi tells us, what exactly Yitro heard. So he heard, Rashi said, Kri'at Yam Suf, the splitting of the sea, and he heard the Milchemet Amalek. So the Ktav Sofer said, what was the concern? Yitro, Kohen Midian, Choten Moshe. Yitro wasn't just individual. He was the high priest of the nation of Midian, but also the father-in-law of Moshe Rabbeinu. So he said, when Moses came to me, I received him with a great honor. I gave him my daughter Tzipporah. But now, if it turns around the other way, how do I know how the people will take me? So the answer is, he saw Kriyat Yam Suf. What is Kriyat Yam Suf? Kriyat Yam Suf, the splitting of the sea. The children of Israel did not pay back the Egyptians. What happened there? They left Egypt. They deserve to give them tremendous punishment the way they put them in slavery. But yet, at least the first stage, it was the children of Israel living in Egypt for many years before the persecution at peace. So therefore, we as a nation do not build on paying back others. We're not holding vengeance. We have which we call akarat tov, the appreciation of the good. Since it was those years that we are geirim, that we are like a sojourners in Egypt. So therefore he sees, in one hand they have Milchemet Amalek. They have the war against the vicious nation that try to attack us, which means that we do have the power to fight. But he said that here you see the difference between paying back or fighting for survival. So because you recognize this type of nation, so therefore that's the idea, what exactly Yitro make him the decision that he wants to be part of our nation in full. Lemay nafkamina, what exactly the difference between two avenue of Rav Ashi? Lemitpas palga, with regard to seizing half of the proceeds. So according to the second view, which means that he is considering as a partner, the agent is a partner, so he can collect half of the money, and basically by keep half of the proceeds, he's basically partner. So the Chazon Ish elaborated and said, if you go by the first version, that he's only an agent, so he basically have no way to keep any of this money, any of the proceeds. The Hilcheta and the Halacha and the rules, the law is that Shaliach Shavyeh, that he can make him only as an agent, and you should know that all of this sugiyah, all this subject, solely applies for plaintiff that wants to use an agent for himself, because otherwise, if you go by the defender, it's a big question if he can appoint someone to represent him. And as I said, in Choshen Mishpat, in Kuf Kav Dalet 124, and in general in Choshen Mishpat, there is a tremendous amount of discussion over this sugya. The Mishnah now bringing an example of Tashlumei Arba'a v'Chamisha, the payment of the fourfold and fivefold payment. The Mishnah Hakdosha start Ganav al pi shnayim. You have here a testimony of two witnesses that someone stole ox or sheep, etc. And the key point, v'tavach u'machar al pihem, that he slaughtered or sold a stolen animal that established by their testimony as well. Or al pei shnayim acherim, or it was other two witnesses that testified for him doing so. Meshalem tashlumei arba'a v'chamisha, he needs to pay fourfold or fivefold payments. Now, ganav u'machar b'shabbat. Little introduction. We said it many times. We have the concept of kimlei b'derab aminei, which is if you have two payments upon someone, he did such a violation that he deserved death, and he also involved with a monetary payment. Since you impose upon a person the heavy punishment, you free him from the light punishment. So here we have a situation that someone did something in violation of Shabbat. Ganav, he stole ox or sheep, umachar, and he sold it, beShabbat. So Rashi said here, al pi shnayim, klomar, shnayim meidin oto sheganav. Rashi must probably have a problem with the whole idea of the two. So he said, ganav umachar beShabbat, aval tavach kimle b'derab aminei. So it means if he just a slaughtered, so it's already have the heavy punishment, so that's a different story, right? You impose the heavy one. But if it was stolen and sold on Shabbat, so you don't involve with the punishment of mita. So they said, ganav u'machar la'avodah zara. If he sold, he stole and then he sold it for idol worshipping. Ganav v'tavach b'yom HaKippurim. So if he did on Yom Kippur, stole and slaughtered on Yom Kippur that deserve karet. Ganav mishel aviv, he stole something that belongs to his father. V'tavach u'machar v'achar kach met aviv. And then he slaughtered and sold, and then the father died afterward. Ganav v'tavach v'achar kach hikdish is all examples, right? Someone stole, slaughtered, and then consecrated the animal. Meshalem tashlumei arba'a v'chamisha. In all of these examples, he pays the fourfold and fivefold payments. So, again, is examples that lead to the same idea. Tashlumei arba'a v'chamisha. Ganav v'tavach lirfu'a. If he slaughtered after stealing, he stole and then slaughtered. And the purpose, in those days they used the blood, they used the meat for medicine purposes, which means shchita shelo letzorka. He didn't slaughter it in order to eat it. Or liklavim, or he wants to feed the dogs. It's basically a question of the Maharshal, because the Maharshal explained on Chulin 42, he said that shchita shelo asuya la'achila, if you slaughter that not for the purpose of eating it, and he said that that's shchita psula, it's disqualified. And here you see that it's ra'ui, anyway, or leklavim, or it's fitting for the dogs. Hashochet v'nimtzet reifa, if he slaughter and he find one of the 18 list of blemishes that the Gemarrah in Chulin 42 mentioned, that make it invalid, even the slaughter process was properly made. השוחט חולין בעזרה, if someone slaughter a non-consecrated animal in the temple courtyard. So all these examples, משלם תשלומי 4 ו5, even the animal was not slaughtered for the purpose of eating it. The big chidush that he needs to pay the fourfold or fivefold payment. Rabbi Shimon poter, Rabbi Shimon exempt, but the last bishnei elu, which means someone slaughtered and it turned to be treifa, or someone slaughtered a non-consecrated animal in the temple courtyard, because he said if it's slaughtered and it's not fitting for consumption, it's not considering a slaughter, and therefore you don't impose 4 and 5-fold payment. So the Baal HaHafla'ah asked, and he said, according to Rabbi Shimon, if someone ganav v'shachat, he stole and he slaughtered, and then it turns to be treifa, he doesn't need to pay the 4-fold and 5-fold payment. We know, when we study Tractate Chulin, that there are 70 type of treifot, type of things that can make the animal not kosher. Even in our days, when they use the term halak, it's a big question, because the idea of sircha, when you talk about agalim, the small calf, it doesn't have the sircha. But regular animals, there is so many type of treifot. For example, hol, a nekev. So you go. The big question is, ein olchim b'mamon achar rov. When it's come to monetary payment, you don't go by the majority. So according to Rabbi Shimon, it may be treifa, and you cannot impose payments. So explain, when we said besafek mamon and olchim achar rov, when you're not sure about the monetary payment, you don't go for the majority. But it's different than here, because here you have safek shchita, because he stole and then he slaughtered, and the animal at that stage was bechezkat kashrut, is good animal, because he couldn't find any blemish, any treifa. So therefore the animal is kosher. So therefore he needs to pay a 4-fold and 5-fold payment. That's the hafla'ah. Based on that is the question that the late Dayan Weiss, the Minchat Yitzchak, asked. He said, when you have this selling of chametz, Elliot always asked that question. Bruce asked that question. You're selling the chametz, right? So basically, you have ktav harsha'ah. You have the same as a power of attorney. You write the document, the agent, the rabbi, the shames, whoever do that. So there are many type of kinyanim. One of the kinyanim is shtar. So you have on that shtar 2 witnesses. The problem is, the Minchat Yitzchak said that these 2 witnesses cannot be people who sell the chametz, because they are part of that, so they cannot be objective. He says that you have to be very strict when you do the procedure with the non-Jew, to make sure that these 2 witnesses are not people who sold the chametz on the list to that rabbi. Not everyone goes along with this, but he brings a source from our Mishnah. Lema matnitin delo Rabbi Akiva. You may hold that this Mishnah not follow the view of Rabbi Akiva. The Rabbi Akiva Amar, what did Rabbi Akiva said? In Book of Dvarim, Deuteronomy 19, verse 15, said, according to 2 witnesses, we establish a matter, davar, a matter, and he implies velo chatzi davar, and not half of the matter, which means the testimony is unacceptable unless it establishes a complete matter. The Tanya Amar Rabbi Yossi, כשהלך אבא חלפתא. Abba Chalafta is a big question why he called his father name. We're not allowed to call the father by his name. So they said he used the honor, the Vilna Gaon, and others said he used a term with honor, so he's allowed to say it. Still Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri ללמוד תורה, ואמרי לה, there are those who say Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri יוצא לאבא. Page 70, Chalafta, he went to study Torah there. אמר לו, so a little introduction, there is a Gemarrah and Mishnah, בתרא, pages 28 to 29, dealing with occupant of a state for 3 years. You have witnesses that said that Mr. A occupied an estate and eats from its fruit for 3 year period. So the moment you have in Talmudic time, they said that people hold documentations. This is much before the computers, right? People hold documents for 3 years. So if you have witnesses that say that that fellow occupied that estate, and he claimed that he purchased it, and he eats from his produce for 3 years period, we hold that he is the owner. So they said, אמר לו, הרי שאכלה שנה ראשונה בפי שניים. He eat from the produce of that estate for the first year, and there are 2 witnesses that testified for that. שנייה בפני שניים. The same apply the second year. שלישית בפני שניים מהו? So can you combine the 3 testimonies of each of them of pair of 2 kosher witnesses to say that he hold the chazakah meaning something that you do it 3 times, that you establish permanency and ownership. Okay? אמר לו, you can combine the 3 witnesses for each year, 3 pair of witnesses, הרי זו חזקה. So he said in comparison, אמר לו, אף אני אומר כן. אלא שרבי עקיבא חולק בדבר, רבי עקיבא disputed and said שהרבי עקיבא אומר דבר ולא חצי דבר. רבי עקיבא said matter but not half a matter, which means testimony is unacceptable unless it establishes a complete matter. So since none of the 3 sets of the witnesses on its own establishes a chazakah, your only way to do it is by combining the 3 pairs. So therefore, their testimonies, according to Rabbi Akiva, is unacceptable. So if you go by our Mishnah, that you have the witnesses that come and testified that this stealing, it was it was stole, right? And others to come and testified for the slaughtering, and others, so those who come and testified for the slaughtering, cannot testify for half a matter, because their testimony is not enough to impose upon the thief without a testimony for the thieves in itself. Okay? So therefore, since it's only half, so the Mishnah said that he needs to pay 4-fold and 5-fold payment. And that basically not go along with the view of Rabbi Akiva, that said that in order to establish a full accepted testimony, you have to have a full matter and not a half matter. And since again the testimony is only for part of that, which is the slaughtered, that's according to Rabbi Akiva, it's not full testimony that we can accept it and impose 4-fold and 5-fold payment. So the Gemara rejected that and said, Amar Abaye, Abaye said, Afilu Teima, even you said that this Mishnah follow the view of Rabbi Akiva, Mi lo mode Rabbi Akiva bishnayim omrim kidesh. You have 2 witnesses that said that man betrothed a woman at the month of Nisan. Ushnayim omrim, and others said, no, Baal, that another person cohabited with her in the month of Iyar, that month later. So basically she is now in violation, right? Because she's the already married. The afalgab the bi'ah tzrichei le'edei kiddushin, that in this case the witnesses of the cohabitation needs the original witnesses that speaks about the matter of betrothal. So davar karinan bey. So we consider that as a full matter, and therefore we impose the punishment here. So Rabbi Akiva agree with that. Hachaname, so in comparison we can say to our subject, even the witnesses for the slaughter of the animals, the animal needs, the early witnesses, the dealing that he stole the animal in order to impose upon the thief 4-fold and 5-fold payments. But since you go the other way around, that the witnesses for the theft doesn't need the witnesses of the slaughter, so therefore davar karinan bey. So you call the complete matter. So therefore we impose upon the thief 4-fold and 5-fold payment. So now we go the other way by the sages who disputed Rabbi Akiva ורבנן היי דבר ולא חצי דבר למהותי מאי. So the say למהותי אחד אומר אחד בגבה ואחד אומר אחד בקריסה. Here we talk about the age of maturity, which means that if someone betrothed, etc., we say that the girl turned to be a quote-unquote na'ara, or entered to adulthood when she's bat mitzvah, which is 12 years and 1 day. And according to the Rambam, for the Gemarrah, if she have 2 hair, so usually one witness or woman, it's enough to testify for her maturity. That's the Eben Ezer Kufnun Hey. But there are some situations that you need to have 2 witnesses. So here we deal with that. Hai davar v'chatzi eduti, that's only half a matter. אלא למהות ישנם אומרים אחד בגבה וישנם אומרים אחד בקריסה. הנאמרי קטנאי והנאמרי קטנאי, they are both said that she is basically קטנה, minor. So, anyway, running out of time. The Mishnah said, גנב ומכר בשבת. If someone stole an animal and then sold it on Shabbat, so he paid 4-fold and 5-fold payment. So the Gemara said, והתניא פטור, we learn that it's exempt. אמר רמי בר חמא כי תניא עידה פטור, ואומר לו, עקוץ תאנה מטענתי ותקני לי גנבותיך. You collect a fig from that fig tree, and basically by doing so you possess the stolen item. אמר וכי דכי תבע לקמן בדינה, לא אמרין עלי זיל שלם נמחב בן דף שהוא. המחירה נם אליו מחירה היא, אלא אמר רב פאפא, ואומר לו זרוק גנבותך לחצרי ותקני לי גנבותך. So it's just a side note, it's important to know when we putting tefillin של ראש. So basically בהלכה you have to מהדק, you tighten, and then you say ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. So yes, so if someone does that before the tightening, it's an issue of hefsek. So or for example, someone else make a bracha and he said Amen. So the Baher Eitev said that when you put it on your head and you make the bracha, you have to do the Baruch Shem Kvan Machuto Lam Va'ed, because the hiduk is chelek ma mitzvah, the tightening is part of the mitzvah. So the same, they ask about Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah, if it's on Shabbat, we don't blow the shofar. Why? The Gemara said that maybe he carry it, Shema Yavirenu. So the question is, why in that case, if Pesach occurred on Shabbat, we eat matzah? What's the difference? Why you don't have the same concern? So Rabbi Yitzchak Yerucham, the son of the Marid Liskin, explained, when it's come to shiur matzah, you go bedek zayit. When you go to the Shabbat, the shiur begrogeret. So grogeret, it's more than the olive bark, it's more the kezayit. So you don't have the chashash because he knows the shiur. So the Gemara said, Keman ki Rabbi Akiva, דאמר כלותה כמישהו חדמיה, דאי כרבנן, כיוון דמתיה לחצר ביתו קנה, עניין שבת לא מחייב דמתיה להרה, until the animal reached the courtyard. באומר, he said to the thief, לא תקנה לי גנבותך עד שתנוח. רב אמר לעולם כרבי בר חמא, and he said, אתנן אסרה תורה, ואפילו בא על אמו. איתה ולקמן בדינה, מי אמרין עלי קום הב לאתנן, אלא אף על גב דקי תבעה לבדינה, לא אמרין עלי זיל הב לה, כיוון דכי יהיב לה הווה אתנן, החנמה, אף על גב דלעניין תשלומים, היא תבע כמן בדינה, כמן, היא תבע בדינה כמן, לא אמרינן זיל שלם, page 71, אפילו הכי, even so, כיוון דקמקנה לי בהכי, when these thieves have the transfer to the buyer in exchange of the figs, havia mechira, it's not a regular gift, because we have the rule of kimlei bederama minei, that's apply only the dine adam, but not dine shamayim. So I'd like to conclude with the story about Rabbi Chaim Berlin. Rabbi Chaim Berlin was the son of the Netziv of Volozhin, great Lithuanian rabbi, and he was a rabbi in Moscow. So it was a fellow Jew that came to him in the most secret way, and he said, I need a mohel to do the Brit Milah for my son. So he said, why you need to do it in such a secret way? So he explained that I'm selling all kind of idols and things like that to them, to those Russian. And if they discover that I'm Jewish, they don't do business with me, they maybe even kill me. So therefore, I need it. So he sent him a moral, and after it was done, he said to him, why is that? Why you want to do the brit? If you live with them, if you everything with them. So he said, look, I was born Jewish. I messed up, so it is what it is. But I want to give my son a chance, at least for him to make a choice when he grew up. So therefore I do the Brit Milah, and therefore it says that they said in a Song of Songs, Hinach yafa ra'ayati, they repeat the word, you are beautiful, my beloved. They said it twice, that Hashem said it to the Knesset Israel, to Assembly of Israel. It says, you are beautiful, my beloved, twice. Einayich yonim. So the Gemarrah said in Beitzah, and also Gemarrah in Bava Battra, they said, Kan kodem achet, kan achar achet. This is before the sin, this is after the sin. So the story goes by the Yonah, by the dove, right? The Yonah always run away from the shovach, from the, what is called, the place that the Yonah, the dove, staying. So as long as, what?
The nest.
The nest. They go far away from the nest, but they always, she's looking back. As long as she sees the nest, she's comfortable. So he said that's the idea of the nation of Israel. Even after they commit the sin, they still have some connection to Yiddishkeit, to the Klal Israel. So therefore, even is in that sense that he wants to give a chance to his son to make his choice and to be part of Jewish faith, that's exactly what they said twice, Hinach yafa ra'ayati, one before the Chet, one after the Chet. That's the meaning of the Gemarrah in Beitzah and Bava Battra.